That was a very rude introduction. Okay. The introduction is, this is Ben, and that was all he told me to introduce him as, so there you go.
Can everybody hear me in the back? If I talk this loud, am I okay? I tend not to like mics. Mic, okay, I'll do the mic. I had a request from up front, it's usually the back here. So I hope this is good too. I don't expect so many people to actually come here for me. I've come here once before, and the post presentation was my favorite part then. Hopefully it's yours as well. Not to say this will not be fun, but a lot of great projects. So I'm Ben McNamee. I'm Director of Measurement Evaluation Business Intelligence at the Ontario Trillium Foundation. Quick show of hands, who knows Trillium Foundation? This is not bad. A few shakes, a few yeses. I'm assuming the industry folk know us. When I was sort of asked to do this, I was at my wife's Christmas party. She works for Grant Book, and they're in sort of tech philanthropy space. And I was really excited about this new tool and going on about sort of the change management, the data culture that we were building, our new tool, how we were doing all of this stuff. I realized looking at the little blurb I put up, that's a very aggressive amount of stuff for 20 minutes. So it's going to be very quick, very high level. Really hope to continue conversation with anyone interested after the conversation, but it will be a very high level. All right, who's Ontario Trillium Foundation? We're an agency of the Government of Ontario. We grant money to foundations or sort of organizations across Ontario, north, south, east, west, for numerous kinds of things. Capital projects, programs, innovation funds, collective impact, all kinds of things. We are the largest or one of the largest grant makers in Canada. We grant around $100 million a year, all in the province of Ontario. Our mission is to build healthy, vibrant communities across Ontario. About 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, our ministry came to us and said, we've been around for a while, we've given you a lot of money, what difference has it made? We thought, we said, okay, how can we answer that question? We looked at our data, we looked at our grants, and we said, well, we've given this many grants for this much dollars. So yeah, but how much of a difference? What difference did you make? So again, went back to the data. What can we find? Well, we've encouraged so many volunteers to volunteer. We've enabled so many positions of employment in the grantees that we fund. We've got all these great stories from the grantees about the work they're doing. That's the difference we made. Like, no, but what is the difference that you've actually made with the money? And we had no idea how to answer that question. We were not able to answer that question. And so that spurred us on a fundamental redesign of our strategy, essentially to answer that question. Over the next 10 years, if we're investing $100 million a year, we will invest $1 billion in this province, in philanthropic initiatives in this province. What difference will that make? And more importantly, how can we actually measure this and set up our new strategy to be able to measure this so that 10 years from now we can actually answer that question in a fundamental way, not using anecdotes, not using activity metrics, but using actual outcome metrics. So, a huge change in our approach. Starting from not being able to answer the question, redid everything. Whole new strategy, outcomes and impact at its core, at its root of this is what we're trying to do, achieve outcomes. And a whole new shift from our old system to a sort of a digital transformation of our granting. Very, very, very quickly, I could spend 4 hours on this. Our strategy, our theory of change, we've defined sort of our mission of increasing the community well-being in Ontario through Canadian Index Wellbeing Indicators. We're going to track this over a 10-year period to see overall change in Ontario from the things that we're working towards. We're going to invest, as I said, in capital projects, in innovation projects, in programs, in collective impact projects. These projects, our grants, are going to track against very specific outcomes that are of the right size for the project and the community. We're going to track their outcomes using aggregated tools that are standardized, validated, and they're all using the same tools, so we can aggregate up to what we're trying to achieve our outcomes, we're calling priority outcomes, say here's the difference that we have made in Ontario. We have made this much of a difference in physical activity rates. We made this much of a difference in youth engagement in their communities and so on and so forth. And we have the data underneath this to measure it. All right, so that's what we do. I'm going to spend most of the time today on how we're doing it in the data side and being able to answer that question. So we started with a lot of paper, and we moved to digital, and we know we have to answer this question. So we started alongside this new strategy, a whole new business intelligence project. The whole goal of the business intelligence project is really, again, aimed at answering that question, but much more fundamentally, at its roots, it's about using data, evidence to make decisions. Obvious stuff that is really not groundbreaking in most spaces in philanthropy and the not-for-profit sector. This is revolutionary. It shouldn't be, but it is. And so we're wanting to get a robust set of the right data, not a lot of data, but the right data that is easily quantifiable, that is directly measures of the things that we are trying to achieve, the outcomes we are working towards, the inputs that we are putting in towards those outcomes, so that we can make the best decisions about which applications will lead to the greatest impact. We can make the best decisions about how we are allocating our resources across our different streams. We can make the best decisions with our grantees around what they should be focusing on. We're not keeping the learning internally. We should be able to tell the story of our impact, the difference we're making. We should strive towards telling our accountability story. This is taxpayer dollars that we need to show that there's good value for this investment. And we need to help our staff and our volunteers to be confident that they are making the best decisions, that the outcomes that we're going to achieve are going to be achieved. And so we've developed this data model, developed this business intelligence and impact reporting framework to allow us to do all these things. The times aren't quite right on this. This is about 6 months old. So we went from, before this process, we had, as I said, when we asked the question, we had to go and sort of find all the data on manual reports, on paper reports in some cases. Everything was reported in different ways. Each question, it would take a week, 2 weeks to actually get the data, clean it, provide the answer. And by that time, the question was no longer relevant. Nowadays, we are still in the early stages of this, so we have predicted impact, predicted outcomes, and we have an automated process. So our database is refreshed every day, so we have real-time data that can be accessed by the BI team to answer questions in an hour rather than in a week. And we're working towards sort of the end goal in sort of 2019, 2020 of having complete automation, linking all of our data sources to be able to tell a really robust story of our impact, and that this is interactive, self-serve, so that everyone across the organization, our board, all of our stakeholders have access to this data to make the right decisions at the right time. So right now, I mean, this says we're here right now. We're actually in between this now and in future state. We launched the very first thing, automated tool across the organization late November. This is just a screenshot of it. Very, very high level, very, very basic information. Number of applications there. almost 8,000 over 3 years. Number of grants ultimately made 1,600, and then a whole bunch of tidbits to be able to filter on whatever the stakeholder wants to find out. You want to know what the success rate of applying for a grant and receiving a grant across our different outcome areas, filter on that. Fairly basic stuff. Like I said, the tech here is nothing innovative, it's very simple, it's how we're using it. We're sort of down here on this journey. Ultimately, aside from answering this question of sort of what difference have you made, we want to be able to use our data to be able to begin to predict what's going to be happening, to react ahead of time, to be proactive. And so we're on this journey of really enhancing our data, really developing our tech a lot more so that we're able to have not just what happened, what is happening, what have we granted in the last 2 years, what have we granted by different outcome area, but actually, why did we see what we saw? What can we do differently to be able to actually make changes before the issues arise? And so we're on this process of really moving towards predictive and prescriptive analysis as much as possible. You see the timeline on there, this is not overnight. So this is the very high level, as I said, what we've done and where we're going. When I was talking about this with the hosts who were inviting me, the next bit was sort of what got people really excited around the change in the organization to allow this to happen, allow this to be successful. We're working in a space in the sector which is historically not data savvy. Pockets are, but as on average it's not. That relies a lot on intentionality rather than actual data and outcomes. And that was really relevant and prevalent inside our organization as well as in the sector. So this is where we began. Paper reports, paper applications. This is, I believe these are reports from old grants waiting to be reviewed and signed off by our VP so they can be filed in the filing cabinet underneath and never looked at again. Think of how much insight, how much useful information is in those reports. This is what they did. This is their stories of their outcomes. This is why we couldn't answer the question before. It's literally locked away in cabinets. We had a complete and utter mess of an IT system. We were starting from zero, essentially. We blew it all up and said, let's completely redesign this. So we've got to build a new culture along with our new strategy and our new data analysis system. Data culture. So I got this definition of sort of data culture from Rahul Bhargava. Apologies. Does anyone know Rahul? Rahul Bhatt is his online alias. He's a professor, I believe. He works at MIT. Really, really great work he does around data and tech in the not-for-profit sector. Recommend you look him up if you don't know. So he's got this definition of data culture. Really, when sort of I come to it, it's when you have a question, is the first response, what does the data say? And if that's true, then you have a data culture. And so we're working towards getting everyone in the organization confronted with a problem, confronted with a question, what does the data say? How can we actually act based on the data? So I'm not a change management guy. I'm really not a change guy at all. I'm a data geek. I like my old systems and everything. So I don't know what the research says on how to actually do this. I don't know what the best practices are. Really, I don't know if I should be saying this, really flying by the seat of our pants. But it actually worked. So I've gone back over the last month and really tried to reflect on really what are the key pieces trying to pull out of this that actually are the levers of our success. So don't take this as anything more than just some stranger's ramblings on what seemed to work for him. Leverage existing behavior. A lot of times with the big fundamental change, it's you used to do it this way, now you have to do it this way, and why can't you get that through your head? So our approach was, this is the way you work. We're going to take that as given and work with that to bring about the change we want. Obviously show value, really insightful there. But also make it fun. I think this is the key. When I look at our organization, we have been transformed into organizational data geeks. We love anything to do with data. Leveraging existing behavior. So I'm an economist by trade. I don't know if I should call it myself, but I studied economics for years, and I've been trying to find the source of this story. I can't find it. The story was told to me by a professor. Maybe he just made it up. About it was around incentives and policy and how to make the policy, but it's really relevant for this case. There was a firm, an organization, an office, bathroom. People go to the bathroom, they wash their hands, germs all over the tap. So no one wants to use their freshly washed hands to turn the water off. So they would grab a paper towel, turn the water off. Now they walk to the door. They don't want to touch the door with their germy hand or with their clean hands in the germy door. So they take the paper towel, they open the door with the paper towel, they walk out, they drop the paper towel on the ground because they're done with it and they walk out. There's a huge trash issue. We didn't know how to solve this trash issue. They put up signs everywhere. Please, there's a big trash issue, throw it out in the garbage. Problem persisted. Think of the environment, all the waste, problem persisted. And one day somebody moved the garbage can by the door. People need to throw out the garbage at the door when they get rid of it. Shockingly, the problem went away. So it's not forcing people, trying to get people to do something different, to behave differently. It's taking their behavior as given, taking their processes as given, and working with that to induce the change and induce the new thing that you're trying to go with. So we took this approach across the organization, not in the bathroom, but everywhere else. We listened to people, we provided the key data and the key tool at the right time within their current way of working, and really just slowly iterated on that to really force this change. Showing value, this is obvious. I think the data can show you things that insight or that anecdote and feeling can't. There's an example in our environment area. It's good to see all the colleagues from the Ministry of Environment here. So our expert on the environment, our specialist, had this idea in her mind that our new strategy had somehow neglected the environment sector. Our investments in environment were a lot lower, and there was a fundamental issue there. And so she was able to, we walked her through our new data, we walked her through our tool, worked with her, and she was able to, A, refute her blanket assumption, but also find the cases and the places where that assumption actually was true. She was able to see, well, it's not an issue across the board. There's really an issue in where we have provincial-wide focus in these applications. That's where we're not doing as well. It's an issue in certain areas of the province in the west rather than across the province. She's able to pinpoint and then tailor her work differently for those areas where they needed more supports than other areas. Obvious, simple, show the value, straightforward. Making it fun. I happened to stumble across two colleagues talking about my team 6 months ago. And the first one says, yeah, they're just a bunch of data geeks. And that's all, they're just a bunch of data geeks. And the second one says, yeah, but they're so infectious. And I realized that this is what the key was. that just the excitement my team and I had for anything to do with data, that really wasn't infectious. That was spreading across the organization. If we could latch onto that, we could use that to actually drive serious change underneath, we were going to be successful. We created our data culture, cultivated it in our little lab, and spread it across the organization. How we did that when we launched this tool? We had Fun Fact Fridays, where we showed amazing facts about data. We had the Data Digest, which showed the data viz of the week. It showed all the classic data visualizations that you've seen and presented it in an interesting manner. Everyone's seen that vocabulary, hip-hop artists, data viz, got one in the back too. Things like that, nothing to do with our work, just like, look at this cool thing, right? Getting people excited about data. We had a hype video. I'll play it for others. I'm not entirely sure if I like this or I'm embarrassed by it, so I'm not actually going to show it in the end. We had we opened up access to the site. We had a scavenger hunt, very specific set of questions. How much was granted in the environment in the North of Ontario in the second cycle of our new granting strategy? People have to go in and use the tool. We had prizes. We had the chiclet challenge. It is impossible to find chiclets in Toronto. We literally cleaned out 4 stores to get enough chiclets for everybody. I don't know, we used Power BI, and so the chiclets are the filters. It was simple, it was silly, but we had people sort of figure out, I know the BI secret. They each got a chiclet, send in their selfie, I know the BI secret, I know what a chiclet is. And then we got a collection of all our BI superstars. It's making it fun. We had data jams where we brought people in, we had food, we had treats, we showed them our work and the tools and how they could use it in an informal and fun manner. And we're in the process of getting that OTF hackathon ready for later in the winter, early spring maybe. We're actually going to sit down, come up with a very specific problem around our investments in a specific population, either LGBTQ, Francophone, or Indigenous populations, and figure out how can we better serve these populations. Very specific problem using data to get an answer to our work. And again, all of this is done with an infectious sort of giddiness of what we're doing. It's a key feature. Don't underestimate giddiness. Ultimately, this is our philosophy. Edward Tufte, one of my data heroes. The numbers are boring. You got the wrong numbers. Right? It's got to be valuable. It's got to work with existing behaviors, but it's got to be fun. If it's not fun, there's no value to it. So I think we've done a good job of that. Somehow I have to do it. I don't know if I've used up all my time or way more or way less, but that's all the slides I've got. Very high level. Is there time for questions? Is there very little bit of time for questions? If there's more demand for a little bit of time, I can answer afterwards. I saw you first.
Do I need a mic or should I just
Sure.
Go? Okay. So just before you wrapped up, you mentioned there's a few marginalized communities.
Yep.
I just wanted to get a grasp of what all those communities would entail, what the plan for that project is. Aside from just like starting off on it and saying we're going to do it, how do you also see the idea of measuring and maintaining that throughout? So you're not just coming in with a savior complex and just leaving those communities, but actually actively maintaining onto it. Because I want to make sure that it is fun for you, so there is value to it. So what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and I probably should put more context around that. So it was a year ago now, where we recognized the need to do more for those 3 specific communities. That in different ways we needed to do more.
What are those? Sorry, that was my first question. What are those communities?
Sorry, LGBTQ community, Indigenous community, and Francophone community. Ontarians. And so a year ago we set up, we called them affinity groups, a small sort of instant task force of people across the organization tasked with coming up with a set of recommendations to better serve these communities. Over the course of 3 months, they did a lot of rigorous work, including asking what does the data say, came up with, each task force came up with 20 to 30 recommendations for how to better serve these communities, rooted in enhanced and increased collaboration and listening to these communities. And so that work of implementing these recommendations has been ongoing for the last 9 months now. And we're at the stage now where sort of the hackathon idea is a checkpoint 1 year later. So these were the concerns then, these were the recommendations, these how they have been implemented. What can we do even more? What can we do better? Where are the new gaps that exist? And how can we tweak these recommendations going forward? So I'll hand over here first. And then, yep. You got it.
Yeah, the last answer sort of started to get to my question. You're talking about collaboration. I'm wondering how all of this impacts the people that are actually applying for those grants. I mean, I've seen a lot in my day, and I've certainly seen a bunch of people that apply for grants. Typically, they're sort of lower income. They want to experiment with something. They want some kind of a ramp into society. They're taking chances. They're innovating. And there has to be, there probably should be a bunch of failure in there, but with support. So just generally, my question is, how do you put together the data culture with the human aspect of what you're doing?
So where you were going, I was all on board. I had an answer ready for you. The last question was actually threw me off. We totally recognize there's need for innovation. There's not all this. We don't have perfect programs just waiting to be implemented. There's a lot of need for innovation. We invest probably 20% of our money on small, quick, innovative grants to try something new. They will fail. I hope a lot of them do fail. A lot of them will succeed. And then the key is the ones that succeed, let's continue on in the progression. Let's them come back in and apply for more funding. Let's encourage others to sort of take lessons of what the successes were and see what they can implement in their communities to innovate in their communities. So it's absolutely a key part of that. Generally speaking, across the board, our approach has been with our applicants and our grantees at the center of what we do. We did a huge amount of consultations with them as a part of the new strategy. We reduced the burden of reporting, we reduced the burden of the application. We do not ask for anything we are not going to use. We're going to be communicating back with the grantees around what we're learning from them as individuals, but also as the group, the aggregate learning, so they can improve as well. The approach is very much let's listen to our grantees, let's listen to our applicants and make things easier for them. There's a long way to go for sure, but that's how it's set up.
All right, I think we're done for time.
We're done.
One more maybe?
One more. I'll be free for more questions after if there's ones that we don't get to.
Pick your final.
You're really eager right here.
Thanks. I think you started to touch on it in your last answer, but my question was kind of around, so you're talking about gathering these outcomes and data about the impact that your grants are actually having. I assume that a lot of that data collection has to come from the grantees, right? So I guess I'm just wondering, how do you actually support the grantees in collecting that data? Does it kind of force them to also take on this data-driven approach? And is there funding included in their grant to pay for that work?
Great question. There's 3 or 4 ways in which we support grantees to collect information. Ultimately, the grantees are the ones that provide us the data. Absolutely right. It's in their grant contract. There's 10% of their fund is devoted to evaluation data collection. So if you have a $500,000 grant, $50,000, not a lot, but not a little. We have internal staff who work on supporting grantees through best data collection methodologies, privacy concerns, ethical concerns, the whole gamut. We have an external partner, Forum Research, who supports us in this endeavor. They work with grantees on technical issues, on sampling, these kinds of things. And we also have a series of workshops, online courses, webinars, videos around best practices, basics of data collection and evaluation programs to support and increase the capabilities and knowledge across the province so that ideally people aren't coming in with no knowledge, they have at least a little bit, and then support them the rest of the way. Great question.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, we're gonna move the slides